Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining our podcast, Moms on the Move. I'm Jen Wills.
And I'm Ashley Steigerwald.
We have Michelle Porterfield with us from Set Free Sisterhood podcast.
Yes, so glad to be here.
I know. I feel like we've been in touch for weeks or months about you coming on. So thank you for finally joining us.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Okay, so background, I actually have been working at a salon in Greenville.
Yep.
Called Ivy Salon for 16 years. So that's how it's cool how I've just connected with even you guys living here through that, and which allowed me to continue to connect and love on women and really grow in what I wanted to do to help serve women and just make a bigger impact. So my podcast is really from my own personal journey, and I help women really just get unstuck from self-sabotage, things like over-drinking, overeating, and really help them thrive in their life instead of just sort of spinning on a loop, and then get clarity on what's next for me. And it's been such a beautiful journey.
So I think what stuck out for me was the alcohol-free life that you try to help promote. We had a podcast on addiction recently with Kristen Maurer. She came from The Family Effect, and we had so much feedback from it and personal messages. It was almost, it was sad. I was pretty open about my husband's journey with not drinking. It'll be 3 years this week, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, we talked about obviously alcoholism and, substance abuse with her. I think a lot of people wrote to me, isn't it weird how it's so acceptable that moms are in this
mommy wine culture?
Wine culture.
Yes.
And it's so true. It's on little towels. It's on, your wine glass.
Rosé all day.
All the things.
Yeah.
There's little sayings. So it makes it this normalized and accepted drinking culture for women and moms. And I know it's probably not the healthiest. So...
And that's really my mission, is to kind of get away from the stigma of the addiction and alcoholism part. And because the women, who I was, and then the women I work with, we're high achieving, very high functioning. You would never expect for someone to say, wow, I really drink too much. And too much can be whatever that means for you. And really get to a place where, is it serving you, or is it a stronghold over your life? Do you tend to go to it with every emotion? Have you been able to even feel your feelings in a really long time, or is that your regulator? And it's really just checking in and going, wow, this has become really important in my life, and I kind of go to it all the time. Then we may need to ask ourselves, why are we doing that? And if it's something that we really want in our lives. But then that's the challenge that I find, is when we decide, oh, yeah, I think maybe I'm not going to drink this week and I'll just drink on the weekend. And then we realize, holy crap, I can't really do this by myself. This is a struggle. And then you see a movie where they're glamorizing it, and it's fun and it's romantic and all these things, and the mommy memes and the decor, and it's in your face.
It is.
And then you don't want to say... That's the thing, is my woman who I work with, she's not about to need to out herself or go to a meeting or raise her hand and label herself. It's just hey, this is not working for me anymore, and I need some support.
Right.
And I feel this is growing. This movement is growing. This and in communities, sober curious, gray area drinking. I've found more and more other women saying, hey, I don't label myself alcoholic, but I don't drink anymore. Like what you said, it doesn't serve me. Or those who are in the sober curious movement, where they're I'm not sure if I'm going to drink or if I'm going to be sober, but for right now, I'm just going to be curious about it and maybe be more mindful and intentional, versus the end of the day, numb out drinking that I think a lot of moms are doing right now, where it's that overwhelm at the end of the day. I'm not sure how to handle this stress, so this is just the most easy and acceptable in society. Because the minute you go to a social situation, you're no, thank you, I don't drink. It's oh, what? Oh.
Yeah.
Are you pregnant?
Are you pregnant? Is she an alcoholic? It's the the social acceptance of drinking, and then to then say, I'm sober curious or sober. How do you fit that into the social structure? It's really complicated, and especially for women in the mommy wine culture has become so acceptable to the point where, like, there's a play date, there's wine, there's the kid's birthday party, we're gonna have drinks too. It's out there.
Well, it's acceptable, and it's just so easily like accessible. Like it's just there. It is like on your counter, and I'm not preaching because I feel like I'm kind of in this a little bit. Not that I'm going to raise my hand and say, oh, it's a problem, but it's a routine. It's a routine of my day starts out like a tornado in the morning. I say by 8 o'clock I ran a marathon, and there's multitasking all day, like all day long. Then I have to get in car line. And then I say from like 3:45 to 6:45, it's like a witching hour. It's not 5 o'clock. It's this miserable few hours of cranky kids. What's for dinner? I don't want that. Tubs, getting lunches ready for the next day. Oh, I still have work emails coming in. And I don't want to be like so uptight at home. So I find myself like reaching for a glass of wine to just kind of like
And you had talked about triggers, before the show, and what I'm hearing from Jen is it's that trigger where trigger, and what you said about feeling those emotions. It's we talked about before, completing that stress cycle. You're stressed, and you get to the end of the day, and there's no release from that stress cycle, and you can't live like that. So it's the most immediate, quick thing to release that stress cycle, so that you feel like you can connect then with your husband, or not be a total like insane person at the end of the day. Yep.
I'm not, again, it's like I'm not preaching. I'm like living. I'm like the 3 little ones. Not that that's an excuse, but I know for so many women, it's like that's what relaxes you, makes you feel like less crazy, and lets you just kind of like chill for a minute.
But then how do you feel the next morning?
I know. And actually, it's funny because I haven't been drinking much at all, and I'm sleeping so much better.
I was going to say, how's your sleep?
So much better.
So here's the thing about that is it works. It works. It helps like soften the blow of the stress. But what it also does, when we learn a little bit more about the brain too, is we think we're more connected, and women even think, oh, I'm a better mom. But really, are you? Because are you really able to really emotionally in connecting with your spouse or your family? I wasn't. I tolerated them.
Right.
I was able to tolerate them more. And the thing is women that drink a little bit here and there, like this stuff doesn't even faze them. I'm like, oh, I don't even notice the decor. So the thing is, if it's something you think about and question and like, oh, well, why do I keep doing that? Like, why do I feel like I have to have a glass of wine every night? And, has it now turned into 2 more recently? Post-COVID, did you start, or during COVID, did you drink more during the day? I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of women who were doing well, and then tragedy happens, trauma happens, something, and then they fall off again, which really is what brings the disconnect into really thriving in your life. And that's the whole thing, is like, I feel like now in my 40s, like this is it. This is the time of life. And this is when, we build who we are and our confidence. And, really for me, it's even like, what are you called to do? What are you led to do in your life to leave a legacy? And if this is such a part of your life, are you really able to step into that and live that to the fullest?
So what are like red flags, you feel like, for women to maybe self-reflect and say?
Good question. So it would be if you spend a lot of time in your mind thinking about it. That's the first one. If you're thinking about, okay, what time I get off work, if you begin to negotiate, well, I really want to go work out. I did this a lot. I was like, well, I really want to work out today, but, I think I'll just head on home because I'm kind of tired. And then, an hour earlier, I could have that glass of wine, things like that. Or if you do tend to really start waking up just kind of feeling groggy and that brain fog and, not getting quality sleep. And then if it just becomes part of your scheduling too, like, oh, well, I got to make sure that the kids are, are home from their play dates, or, when you begin to schedule life around, because myself and the women that I work with, like, we don't drive. We don't, do crazy things and like outwardly, issues, but you begin to negotiate. Okay, well, I don't want to make sure my husband can go get the kids so that I can have a glass of wine, things like that. So you just have to begin to look at your patterns.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, I just believe that we know when it's too much, it's too big in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what you said is really important. This idea sometimes that in order for someone to have a problem, they have to have that DUI. They have to be, at the bottom of the well. They have to lose their job. They have to, it's this idea that you have to look or be a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I think what you said, the high functioning, I think there are a lot of very high functioning, successful women. And I think it really hits them even more because of that drive to be so successful and not being able to shut it off at the end of the day. And this idea that going to a meeting and putting yourself out there like, hey, I'm an alcoholic, I don't think that appeals to a lot of people. And I think AA and 12 steps is so important. I just don't think it's the one fit solution for everybody.
Even for Chris.
Yeah.
It took, again, with his permission, we talked about it on one of the last addiction one, but he would, a lot of times he was a binge drinker. So he didn't fit into the mold of not functioning, DUIs. I mean, could he have gotten a DUI? Probably. But did that happen? No. So when he did go to a meeting, he's like, I mean, some of these guys were just, and he couldn't relate. So then he would tell himself, like, I'm not like them. And it was this kind of a cycle of, well, it's not that bad, so what does that mean for me?
Exactly.
So for your personal journey, was it you wake up one day and you're like, okay, day one, I'm sober? Or was it more of a back and forth? Was it a sober curious? What was you? Okay, well, I want to hear your story.
Yeah, so it was back and forth for a while because of things like that, It was like, and it's really, I call her the wine witch. She loves to challenge you and tell you that, like, it's just that inner critic that we hear a lot of times too. Like, that you're not good enough and, who do you think you are? It's the same thing when you decide you're going to do something, whether it's giving up sugar or giving up wine. Then it's like, well, you're not that bad. You've gone a few days. What's the big deal? You're stressed out right now. It's just all that self-talk. And so you typically, especially high-achieving women, we are like on it. I mean, just listening to your schedule for your day today, all the things that have to get done. That's what we do. And so then we realize, oh yeah, we are fine. But then over time, so this has been going on for, different seasons of life. Even when I was in my 20s, it was cool because it was wine club and that's how I got together with friends. And at that point, I didn't even like it. Like I had to learn to like it, which should be a red flag, but come on. And then later I had children. It was fine. And then after kids and I was done, we went through an adoption, which we were in the court system for 2 years, which was extremely stressful. And I remember literally, like, every time we left the court, I was like, let's go, and I'm getting a glass of wine. Because, it was new and it was overwhelming and stuff like that. And so, and then I just went through a season where, I did do that. I was like, wow, I did go to an AA meeting and I was like, okay, these are not my people. Good for them. I'm glad they're happy, but this doesn't feel right for me. And then it just came to a point where it came to a moment where I would have, a lot of day ones, a lot of day twos, things like that. And, I'm doing this on my own. And then I said, man, I'm just really miserable. Like, I just felt like crap every day. Was beginning to just really feel depressed. And I would look at myself and go, who are you? Like, God's got something so much bigger and better for you. And then really for me, it was that moment of, like, true surrender. I was like, listen, I'm a control freak. I will always be in recovery for control. That is something I have to daily give up. But when I think about surrender, a lot of times they'll talk about, feeling powerless. I don't really like that because I'm powerful because I give up, my surrender to God and allow Him to, like, strengthen me. And so that was it. When I really understood what that meant, I was like, all right, here we go. Just like we said before, with whatever we do, just taking it one day at a time, not, overthinking tomorrow or next week, just really walking in, how can I be the best human, mom, wife that I can be today?
in this moment.
In this
And we were
moment.
talking before the show, I had read Amy Poehler and Tina Fey back to back, so I don't remember which one it is because it was literally
Which Tina Fey book?
Bossy
Bossy
Pants.
Pants?
Yes.
It's my favorite book.
Oh, so good. So I don't remember if it was Tina
Cute.
Fey or Amy Poehler. Yes, please, because they're right back to back. But they were talking about this concept of time travel, where you're in your car and you're, oh my gosh, I have to do this tomorrow and next week and 6 months from now, and that project and that thing and that contract and that thing I have to write. And it's like, stop time traveling. Stop. Don't be 6 months back. Don't be 6 months in the future. Just be in the present right now. Stop time traveling. And that's stuck in my head. So I find that all the time, that all of a sudden I'm starting to like spiral out of control about something that I have to do 3 weeks from now. And I literally can't do anything about it anyway because I'm either in the car or with a client or doing something. So it's just stop time traveling. You know, if you can do something about it, if you're in a space where you can do something productive toward it, go ahead and do that. But if you're not in a space to do anything about it, stop it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's speaking so heavily to me right now.
Time traveling,
Yeah.
Jen.
And part of it is just really recognizing to begin to ask ourselves really good questions like, you know, how is this serving me right now? And even like, what opportunities do I have right now to either release this or talk to someone? Or, you know, like if you're somewhere where you can, my favorite tool is brain dumping, where you literally just scribble, scrabble. It does not have to be cute. I love people that are creative and love little cute fancy journals. Mine are like pieces of paper and notebooks. And just get it out of your head so then you can really sort out, especially when you're talking about tasking and if that creates stress, then I also tell people to put them in like a red light, green light category and map them out because then we realize, oh yeah, like this has been in here spinning and annoying me and stressing me out, but that doesn't have to be done for 2 weeks.
Or it takes 5 minutes to do it, but I'm going to stress out about it because I think it's going to take me 4 hours and it actually takes me 15 minutes. But I stress about it for 27 hours before the 15 minutes it takes me to do it.
Well, and I think too, like what you were saying when you were almost, you know, like surrendered and said, okay, I'm done, was it creates the anxiety and depression. You know, like the more drinking leads to that, but then the more
It's a
anxious
cycle.
you are,
Yeah.
Yes.
the more you want to drink. So yeah, it's an unhealthy cycle. But it is a cycle.
It's, you know, when you drink, it's just if you have any sort of anxiety, you are just pouring lighter fluid on there. But yet in the moment, it does feel good because it's a drug. I mean, it's designed to do that. So it is something that when I'm working with women and getting to the place of really dealing with their anxiety, just using certain tools. And, you know, sometimes it may be a season that you may need a little extra help. You know, maybe you need something from your doctor for a while. I know that's the thing, too, is a lot of very high-achieving women are like, I got this, you know, and maybe there's a little shame around that. But I recently just worked with a woman, and she said, you know what, I think I'm going to just see. You know, I'm really having a lot of extra emotional stuff come up. She got a little something. That's what her doctor said. Listen, you can take this for 6 months maybe just to get you through. And it really helped her. And I think that's great. So I think it's just being willing to be open about it and to speak with someone safe. Because that's the thing that's why I'm so open when I share my story, is because I just want women to know, like, you're not alone. Yeah. This is not some hidden thing that you need to stay hush. If anything, it's going to get worse if you don't talk about it.
And I think, like, it's just so important. Like, we've talked so many times about being open. Yeah. And I think that's, like, where, you know, we're getting such responses from is because, you know, it's not a facade. We're just, like, pretty much laying it out there so people are relating. But it's just it's so much more common than people realize, whether it is an addiction issue or, you know, just like a stressed out in general, or the feelings of tolerating what you said earlier. I'm tolerating my family. I mean, what you said, I feel like is just going to, you know, hit a lot of people, like, you know, and we're all dealing with the same stuff. I mean, it might look different, but the feelings are there.
Yeah. And I've been like sober curious for a while. This is something that I've just been going through with me and my therapist on my own. And not because like I think I'm a raging alcoholic or anything, but what you said about the not serving you well. You know, those couple glasses of wine at the end of the day, I don't sleep well. And then in the next morning, I end up in a shame cycle of you said you were going to be sober curious, and then you had 2 glasses of wine last night, and then do you really want to start your morning in a shame cycle? So that's something that I've been curious about, this sober curious movement of, I'm not sure. Will I get to a point where I never ever drink ever again? I don't know, but I'm open to it because I'm not sure what I'm doing right now is the best thing for me and my goals moving forward and for my family moving forward. So, I think there's different layers. And again, it's this idea that if you're sober, it's because you were, running your car into a bridge. It's just so much more nuanced than that. And I love that you're being so open about it. So, and I'm just curious, so that moment when you decided to kind of go into surrender and say, I am going to move forward as a sober person, moving through this world. What did that look like initially for you?
Oh, wow. A lot of zigging and zagging, really. Yeah. That's what I say. And that's the reason why it was so cool how the process worked. So that was 8/8/2018. So kind of was a cool number, too. So this year it'll be 3 years. And it was really a lot of really tapping into, like, what do you need, Michelle? Like, what do you need right now? Like, how do you need to communicate with your spouse, and what kind of boundaries do you need? And, like, do I need a nap? Do I need to just go on a walk? Like, it's okay. If you are craving something, go have an ice cream. We're not going to criticize ourselves, And so what I did was just a lot of figuring things out. And what that allowed me to do is find those things that really create more. I like to create a bridge for women to say, hey, because I've been there, let me help you walk. Let's get there. It gets there maybe a little faster, but a little bit more streamlined and a little bit more to where you can use these newfound, like, awareness and tools and the way you live your life for the rest of your life, because it's going to really change how you interact and how you talk to yourself. I hear that a lot. I say it's even in my intro, like, I was a former promise breaker to myself, because I would say, I'm not going to do this again. Every day I'm like, okay, today is going to be the day. And then something would happen. And then I would feel like, wow, you suck.
But did you keep promises to everybody else?
Yes. That's the thing. And so you do. You show up for other people, and then you kind of let this slide,
So you always put yourself last.
Yeah.
Or just but it's just the I'm willing to put the energy into other people, and that goes into your self identity and treating yourself kindly. A lot of us treat ourselves like we would never treat other people, and that keeping that promise to yourself. When you said that, I was like, oh, that's like, I need my notebook. I need my notebook out for that.
Well, what's cool is when we really begin to learn to love ourselves in a way that we understand, like, this is what allows me to be the woman I need to be and the mom I need to be, because I've got it now. I've got the energy now, and I have, I know in my life now what fuels me and what depletes me, and how I can manage that to where if I'm going into something that I know is going to deplete me, then I can make sure that I sandwich it with these other areas to take care of myself. I know when I need to sleep. I know when I need to nourish my body in a different way. And I know when I just need some girl time to, like, have FaceTime with my friends. And I think that when we do that and we communicate it clearly, people hear the word boundaries and they're like, oh, that's so, but it's so liberating. And
boundaries.
It's so
We've talked about that a lot. Yeah.
And if you are really in my husband was great. I mean, he was so supportive that he was just like, all right, you whatever you need. And then I can't even really describe the joy and the connection I have with my kids now. Like, it's like nothing before, especially my teenager. Like, I have the coolest teenager ever, and we laugh and we have so much fun. And, in my daily drinking days, it was not the case.
Right. So what's been the biggest positive that's come out of it for you?
Oh, man. I think that's it. I think that's just like my relationships,
It's more authentic now.
Oh, they're just so real and honest. And, my faith has grown 10x, even through, like, last year. And just the fact that I love me, and I love to have fun, and I love to help other women. Like, it is truly, like, my passion when I'm able to connect with somebody and they say, oh my goodness, like I could have written that podcast or I could have written that email. You know, I feel the same way, and it's
Well, I
great.
think, again, it's like, you know, there's the extreme, and then there's this very common gray area. Very common.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you're addressing it and talking about it. And I feel like, you know, this might hit a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, you know, so.
Where can they find you?
Yeah.
If someone listens to this and's like, this hit.
This is me.
Yeah, this hit. And I think I need to talk with you about this a little more. Where can they find you?
They can find me at Set Free Sisterhood. It's a podcast on Apple and Spotify. And then Coach Michelle Porterfield on Instagram.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Thank you for putting it all out there. I think that's brave, and it helps other people. And like you said, leaving a legacy. You're doing it. You're leaving a legacy for so many women. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thanks a lot.
it.
You'll have to come back.
I will.
Yeah, we
I'd
definitely
love
need you
to.
back.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
seriously. Well, thank you again. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you to our sponsors real quick. Wilson Associates Real Estate.
Yes.
If you want to list your house, call us.
Oh my God, list your house. We need
List your
houses. We need houses. If you need to buy a house, we'll find it.
We'll find it.
Yeah. Oh, maybe off market, but we'll find it.
Pearl Dental,
Yes.
Parham Smith Archenhold, and Blackacre Law. So thank you, everybody, for your support, and we look forward to seeing you next time.